In today's video, we're going to talk about how golfing star Cameron Smith found himself caught in the spotlight after losing the coveted #1 spot in his recent tournament. How did he lose his spot? Well, it was because of a simple two-stroke penalty that got tons of reactions from the golfing world at large. Let's explore the penalty a little deeper and how Smith took it like an absolute champ. First off, Smith gets praised. After receiving an unfortunate two-stroke penalty that ended his chances of winning the FedEx St. Jude Championship and becoming the world's best golfer, Cameron Smith's being praised for his sportsmanship. Before even starting the final round on Sunday in Memphis, Smith suffered a severe setback after being penalized for starting from the incorrect location on the 4th hole just recently. Incorrectly playing his third shot, the world #2's ball touched the red hazard line after hooking his ball into the water off the tee on the par 3 hole. Smith's 3 under par 67 was changed to a 69 after being initially 2 strokes off the lead, leaving him 4 strokes behind J.J. Spaun in a tie for 14th place at 9 under. Smith finished with a well-played even par 70, losing all of his wind and never really seemed to be a factor, as American Will Zalatoris defeated Austrian Sepp Straka in a thrilling sudden death playoff to win his first PGA Tour event. Officials felt confident that Smith would have recognized he wasn't allowed to play a ball that was touching a hazard line and assumed it wasn't, even though they had observed the event just recently at the exhibition. Gary Young, the head official, described the circumstances as crazy and awful, adding that it wasn't until a different committee member saw a TV repeat later that weekend that authorities decided to look into it further and have a serious talk with Smith. Secondly, an honest mistake. Young stated that Smith was dealing with a fairly small region where he's dropping it simply because of the scale of the issue. According to the professionals, he clearly dropped the ball there, but it came back to rest against the line despite being essentially hole high and having a smidge of it just outside the line. That's incredibly unfortunate for Smith, all things considered. He evidently believed it was acceptable to play it from the position at that time, but it turns out the rules just don't allow that sort of golfing. From that penalty region, you gotta definitely be more careful. He was completely unaware that the ball couldn't touch the penalty area line in any way. Smith genuinely believed he was safe to play the ball if just a small portion of it was in the general area of the course. Guess you can't blame a guy for trying, can you? If Smith had won St. Jude after Scotty Scheffler missed the halfway cut at the first event of the PGA Tour's FedEx Cup playoffs, he would have replaced Scheffler as the world's top player. Smith won the Players' Championship back in March and his first major title at last month's 150th Open at St. Andrews. Young claimed that despite the serious consequences, Smith took his punishment with an inspiring amount of professionalism and grace, in true golfing spirit. The referee even added his own input, saying that Smith's nothing less than a complete gentleman, and he even took it that way too. He maintained his composure during the entire ordeal and told the ref that the rules are the rules after learning that he'd get a 2-stroke penalty. He didn't argue and simply accepted it and exited the office in the usual casual Cam fashion. He may have been penalized, but he's a true sportsman in our eyes. Coming up, Smith pulls out. As the 3rd-ranked player in a tournament as large as the FedEx Cup, Smith's pretty much guaranteed a spot in the Tour Championship, which will be held over in Atlanta the following week, but he'll have to start at least 3 shots back if we're being realistic. The tournament's top seed has a 2-shot lead and is 10 under par to start. The #3 seed begins the round at 7 under par, followed by the #4 seed at 6 under and the #5 seed at 5 under. Cameron Smith's absence from the BMW Championship will definitely fuel those rumors that the Australian's finally headed to LIV Golf after the conclusion of the PGA Tour's postseason. He's also chosen to avoid answering any concerns about this. The news of his leaving broke on the same day that a federal court in California dismissed a request for a temporary restraining order by 3 LIV Golf players to allow them to compete in the Tour's postseason. For this reason, he continued to be the focus of much of the attention during the recently finished FedEx St. Jude Championship. Bud Martin, the manager of the British Open champion, revealed that he wouldn't be competing in the 2nd FedEx Cup tournament. He's been experiencing recurring hip soreness for a number of months, so he decided it'd be best to take this week off from competing for the FedEx Cup. Other news. First off, the legal battle makes some progress. Numerous golfers no longer have access to opportunities in other leagues due to the Saudi-backed league. We most likely arrived here for that very reason in the first place. A federal judge in California recently ordered that 3 golfers who joined the Saudi-backed LIV Golf won't be allowed to compete in the PGA Tour's postseason. U.S. District Court Judge Beth Lapson Freeman delivered her decision in San Jose after spending about an hour listening to each of the attorneys for either side. An important factor in the case is the amount of money the players were guaranteed only for agreeing to play for LIV. According to Freeman, the ruling doesn't quite seem irreparable to the golfers in terms of the harm inflicted on their careers. Well, guess that's excellent news, and they might be able to recover from this. The ruling isn't binding either, as per Elliot Peters, a lawyer for the PGA Tour, and these golfers will still be able to compete in the PGA Tour in the future. The 3 suspended golfers' plea for a temporary restraining order was denied by Freeman. Taylor Gooch, Matt Jones, and Hudson Swafford each claimed in letters addressed addressed to the PGA Tour last month that they ought to be able to play anywhere they choose. According to each of them, they're independent contractors and free agents under the law. They are just a few of the 10 athletes who recently launched an antitrust complaint against the PGA Tour alongside Phil Mickelson. Robert Walters, a well-known golfer's attorney, stressed that because of the great financial prospects, this would be their opportunity to compete on a large stage similar to something like the playoffs, which he essentially called the Super Bowl of golf. There's no argument that seems to make sense that the players' financial prospects are being compromised when they were simply asked if they might have been able to wait until the end of the PGA Tour season to leave for the new tour. Freeman simply replied in a matter-of-fact way that the LIV Golf Tour's earning potential was also excellent. Next up, LIV's not too different from a business. Phil Mickelson completed the first hole of the LIV Golf Invitational at the Centurion Club in St. Albans, England, in June. Some series critics claim that LIV Golf represents a rich kingdom's naive plunge into the arena of sports in an effort to rebuild itself. However, this is completely untrue. Fundamentally speaking, the LIV Golf Invitational fulfills its own objectives. While LIV Golf has drawn a lot of attention for paying players more money and in safer ways than the PGA, this isn't the main factor behind the company's continued success. The PGA operated in a pretty clear fashion for many years. However, it wasn't without its flaws, and eventually some of its players began to complain about the lack of financial disclosure, the outrageous salaries paid to its executives, and the company's failure to satisfy its clients, many of whom don't even know where their favorite golfers are scheduled to play. Well, LIV, like any company, identified an opportunity in the market and seized it. Finally, players react to the bans. Rory McIlroy was curiously watching the hearings in court when a federal judge in California denied a temporary restraining order that would have prevented 3 suspended PGA Tour players from joining LIV Golf and competing in the FedEx Cup playoffs. While we know that Taylor Gooch, Matt Jones, and Hudson Swafford won't be playing in the FedEx St. Jude Championship, the first round of the playoffs, which will start soon at the TPC Southwind, this will undoubtedly disappoint many fans. McIlroy has asserted that he believed he made the right decision, since common reason ultimately prevailed. When it's all said and done, in his opinion, it simply enables them to focus on the more vital issue at hand, which is, you guessed it, golf. The fact that they can all move on without having to deal with that derailing sideshow anytime soon, in his opinion, is excellent. That's a wrap for this video. How do you feel about Smith missing out on his #1 spot? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.